Guys, welcome back to another video. We got a long night ahead of us and I'm sick on top of that, but we need to get this done so we can continue putting all the other mods on our truck. But today we're gonna be doing a 2.5-inch level install on the Tremor. And before we do that, let me show you the new setup. So we went ahead and we threw some 20x10 -18 offset on Vortec off-road VRP 501 wheels wrapped in AMP Terrain Attack RTs. Very nice setup. I'm very happy with it so far. I love these tires. They look like really aggressive, yet subtle at the same time. It's just a very good look overall. So this will be the setup going forward. All that we need to do for the time being is level the truck out because I am rubbing like crazy. It's ridiculous. So new wheel setup, I'm very pumped about. It looks amazing. Vortec Off-Road is a relatively new brand. They've been around for a year and change, and they're just making very nice wheels and doing a very good job with quality, customer service, and all that good stuff. So very nice wheels, and they just suit the overall look I'm going for on this truck. I think -18 is the perfect offset. It's not too wild, but still gives it a very aggressive look. That just looks really good. My last truck had -18. I find there's more wheel poke on here, and I'm not too sure if it's because the newer trucks don't have the factory fender flares like my other one did, which I don't like. I wish they did because it protects, like once you start getting stone chips here, it's gonna really start peeling away here pretty quickly, you would think. So I missed those little tiny flares they had from factory. It really prevented all this from getting chewed up. So we'll see how long this lasts and whether we're gonna have to do some kind of cover up on that with some fender flares later. But getting right into it, guys, let's go check out the level kit. So just to give you guys an idea of how bad this setup rubs currently without the leveling kit on it, I set my camera up and I'll kind of give you a quick turn of the wheel here. And you can see that it just kisses it. So not recommended to run this setup because you could very easily rip off your bumper there. You can see right there, you're kissing it. So that's where we stand as of right now with the current suspension, the stock suspension, 20x10 -18. 2.5-inch level kit should fix that, and let's hope it does. So the level kit we chose to go with is the Auto Spring. This is a 2.5-inch, and I was kind of nervous because I feel like the 2.5 might put some excessive angle on the CV axles, but a lot of people say that they're fine and they're not having those issues. So I think we're gonna try that. We're just gonna go with it. And all the Tremor guys seem to be running the Auto Spring. They have no issues. Apparently they have this sort of special offset design. So what they mean by offset is that this top plate is shifted over slightly from the bottom plate. And I guess that's supposed to sort of correct your, how your upper control arm so it doesn't slap against your spring. So if I put a speed square, I mean, looking over top of it, you can already tell, but if I put a speed square flat against the table, you can kind of see that you got about a 1/4 inch, 1/8 of an inch distance between your, where you're, and then if you go back around to the other side here, it hits this part first. So the whole top ring of this strut spacer is shifted over this way to create some sort of offset so that your upper control arm does not hit your spring. And this is something that's recommended. You can't just use a typical F150 leveling kit on these trucks. You need to, I'm guessing it's because the Tremor already has a longer strut from factory, would be my guess. So you need this offset design when you're putting a level kit on your Tremor. Keep that in mind. So we'll start off with jacking the truck up and we'll get the wheels taken off, and then we'll go over the next step on how to approach installing this level kit. So I went ahead and I got this side all installed. The level kit is in there just so when I do the process with you guys, I'm just more familiar with it. Where we're gonna start is we're basically gonna take off our spindle bolt, our sway bar bolt off the spindle or the knuckle, whatever you wanna call it. So we're gonna remove this, and then we are gonna go ahead and we're gonna take our tie rod end off, and then we are going to take the lower control arm bolts out, drop everything down, and then hopefully we can just slide this guy right out of there. So this guy here will rip out with a 21mm socket. Just like that. Banging it with a rubber mallet there. And then we'll take out the 2 bolts in the bottom of the strut here and then work on the lower control arm bolts over there. And this is going to be an 18 mil socket. So for your lower control arm bolts, I got an 1 inch and a 1/16 inch socket on that side. And then we're going to go with a 21 mil on this side here. There we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on taking out these top bolts up here. For me, this is an 18 mil bolt. If you have a normal F150, it might be different. The Tremors are 18 mil. So that's what we're going to use. Now this should just fall right out. It should. All right, so I gotta take off this tie rod end just so I can slip it through. So I'll knock with the hammer. There, now we can pull the strut out. So one thing to kind of keep in mind, this is a brand new truck, so I'm not struggling as much with seized parts like some people might. So take that into consideration that this is very easy. Everything kind of just falls out right now. And I'm not struggling with, you know, parts being seized on from seeing years and years of grime and whatnot. So we'll bring the strut over to the bench and then we'll get the top hat put on. I opted for the powder coated, the extra, I think it was like an extra 15 bucks for the powder coating, just to get that longer longevity out of them. They're not gonna rust or anything like that. And the one thing I will say about them is people on the Tremor forums swear by these, but they're built kind of janky, and like, not that I don't think it's gonna fail. It's just more aesthetics, right? Like, I understand that they've shifted the top plate like I talked about earlier, so obviously it's gonna make things not line up as nicely, but you'd almost think that they can cut these shims accordingly so that it's, you know, it's nice and flush there and you don't have a lip there. So just aesthetically, I think these can look a little bit better. I'm sure they'll do the job perfectly fine. As I said, people swear by these on Tremor forums, but you know, that's just me. That'd be the only thing I could take apart at this, take away at this point regarding these strut spacers. So this can only go on one way. Like, it won't allow you to, if I put this, well, actually I got it the first time, but so we'll go this route here. Like, I can't, the bolts don't line up. And now I can't say for certain whether that goes for other F150s, but for the Tremor, it only goes one way, so you can't really screw it up. And then we'll get it slid on like so. So you guys can actually see. And then we'll put nuts on. And there's one. You don't want to tighten one down until you have them all on. If you tighten it down, it'll cinch the plate up and then you won't be able to get the other nuts on. So just be patient and get them all threaded on before you start tightening them down. All right, so I got them all snugged up, and then you're supposed to torque these down to 35 foot-pounds, each of them, but I don't have a crow's foot that'll fit in there, so I can't put it on my torque wrench. So 35 foot-pounds isn't that much, so I have a set of channel locks on this end here just to lock my coil so it doesn't roll on me when I'm cranking this down. So that's sort of what it looks like once it's all on. And that offset that's built into these, like the top ring, is supposed to be, so I think the coil sits a little bit more inside the truck, inside the pocket essentially, closer to the engine bay, so it can clear that upper control arm when you're at full droop. So and there we go. So we'll get these nuts put on right away on the top here. Get our lower strut put back into the control arm here and then bring up the control arm a little bit. It's gonna be easier said than done because we just added 2 inches to our strut. So what I did was I just took a board and I ran it across the middle of my jack and then it supported on the 2 lower control arm ends right there. So we're gonna slowly jack this up, and then hopefully those pins will kind of just fall into place. There we go. Easy. The only thing left to do is to get these bolts put back in. So I got this one bolt in on the lower control arm, so I don't have the nut on the end, I just got it kind of lined up and slid in, and then we can try to prop up this side to go in. If you try doing both at the same time, you're always fighting with one side or the other. Unless you maybe have two jacks and you can kind of like inch each side up little by little, but start with one side, get your bolt in, and then work on the other side. So one trick that I found that I had to do is, if I keep jacking this up like so, it's not gonna line up with the hole. So I took a ratchet strap and I tied it around the lower control arm here, like so. And I took it over here and I hooked it onto the frame. I'll show you in a second here. Ratchet strap tied to the lower control arm, and then I have it just hooked into that hole right there. That's gonna pull the lower control arm back in. And you can already see it moving. This ratchet strap method goes hand in hand with getting your alignment back to where it was, getting all your bolts back to its marks. There we are, the bolt is through. So I was talking earlier about the score marks. You can't really see it now, but I'm gonna make sure that those bolts and the washers that are kind of on the bolts, oh, you can see right here, this is a good example. So you see how there's like that score mark there? That's where the bolt was previously sitting on the frame. I'm gonna wanna slide that bolt over to there. On this side here, let's see if we can't see. Yeah, see, that one's gotta go over a bit too. So we're gonna use the ratchet strap and we're gonna hook them up on both of the control arms, and we're gonna work one, we're gonna kind of get it all dialed in, ratcheting each kind of arm back and forth until we get all of our stuff dialed back in. All right, so I got my two ratchet straps hooked up. I got the one right there on the front of the lower control arm, and then the one right here on the back. I got both my ratchets here, and you can see, obviously by the score mark, as I keep talking about, that this bolt needs to go over a bit. So if we crank on this ratchet strap, we're going to give us a couple cranks. There, and it's right, it's seating right where it needs to be. All right, so we got everything tightened back up. We got the lower control arm bolts tightened up. We got our sway bar, our tie rod down there, and our strut bolt, and our three bolts up top here. So that's everything that we loosened off, and we got all tightened up. The only thing left to do is do the wheel, and then we can seat this truck back on the ground and we can see how it all looks. The days are getting busy. It's almost too dark again, but luckily we have some time left. Last night got too dark, unfortunately, so we couldn't finish the video. So here is how the truck looks, you guys. Very, very happy with it. The 2.5-inch auto spring leveling kit installed. We have lots of room now from the upper control arm. It won't hit the spring or the strut at all. An aftermarket upper control arm will go a long way if you pair it with the 2.5-inch leveling kit to give you that much extra room, but no more rubbing, nothing of the sort. The CV angle, it's never ideal when you obviously do a level kit. You want to do a proper lift kit so you can do the whole drop differential bracket, but that's what the CV angles look like. Nothing too crazy, to be expected basically. And basically obviously the same on the other side. Whoops, bump the camera there. But just so you guys have an idea. And the other side, the same as well. We got lots of room in there. I can fit all my knuckles past and put a whole fist in there. So we got lots of room. We don't have to worry about the upper control arm slapping against the spring. So very, very happy with this, guys. Fairly easy install. We'll have an alignment done in a couple of days.
And if you have any questions regarding the video, guys, make sure you comment below. Anything I forgot, anything I left out, or you're just curious about any other mod of the truck or anything about the truck, leave the comments below, you guys. I'll make sure to answer. But that's basically it, guys. Install video on the 2.5-inch leveling kit. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll see you guys in the next one.